Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Patio. Welcome to the Cornhusker Cooldown. I am one of the JV coaches here for League of Legends. I'm an alumni. I've been on some of the teams before. This is my co-host.
I am Joe, aka mojojoe. You might know me as the League of Legends game manager and the current varsity AD carry. I've been playing here for about 3.5 years now, so got a bit of experience under my belt, but you know, that's what we do. So, you may be asking what this is all about, the Cornhusker Cooldown. This is our first episode. So, what we want to do, we want to just highlight our League of Legends teams at Nebraska. We want to go over their games, how their scrims are going, the overall vibes that they have. And outside of that, because obviously we want to do a little bit more, we'll be looking at the meta, we're going to look at pro play, LCS, and Worlds. And maybe every once in a while bring a coach on, bring a player on, maybe bring a staff on to have interviews. So yeah, that's what we hope to do, and that's what we want you to see. So, but hey, first episode, let's talk about our 3 rosters this semester. So
yeah, 3 teams this year.
3 teams.
So excited about them, but we're going to start with the varsity roster. In the top lane, this is the returning roster.
Yes, all 5 varsity players are varsity last season. So
yeah, everyone did retry out, but we just end up maintaining the same roster. Yep. And so in the top lane, we have Isaac, other known as Wolf. He's a junior, and definitely an exciting man.
He's the hype man. If he's not screaming in a team fight, we are losing. If he's screaming in a team fight, it's a team fight. He just screams.
He's just screaming.
He's loud. He's excited.
Yeah.
He loves playing.
Absolutely.
I love him for it. So.
Yeah. He's always smiling. Always. He is definitely the glue in the team. So very much enjoy having him there. And then we have Jerry, other known as Beware of Space.
Yes.
He's a senior.
He is also he's a senior. He is one of 3 seniors on this team. So experienced roster, but he has been around here for many years. This is last year, obviously, 5th year, and he is mostly a utility player, I'd say. He does comm a lot. He's not the main shot caller, but he does lead comms a lot. So overall, he's just a solid player, and he's always been around. So he's learned a lot, taught a lot as well.
Absolutely, yeah. He really helps out the team. Really pulls it together whenever we have a game without Jerry, we definitely feel it.
Yeah, you can definitely see it in how we play. It's just there's a whole lot less cohesiveness. So
yeah. Mid lane, we have Alex, other known as Arkin, who's another one of our seniors.
Yes, I would say he's the highest peak rank at least in this past year. He is the sort of silent but deadly. He doesn't talk a lot, but you know. He's going to solo kill his lane opponent. He's going to dominate team fights.
Somehow he always solo kills them every game. He's
pretty good.
He's pretty good.
He's, I'd say, the second carry of the team, obviously. He's great mage player. Plays a little bit of talent as well, so, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it whenever Carl drafts some talent.
Yeah, it definitely will happen, right?
And finally, get him away from this Vigar and Zig stuff.
Vigar,
Zig, I want
Syndra.
Talent.
I don't think he plays Victor, but
yeah,
maybe. He's a good Ori player. I know that.
I don't know, but you said he's the second carry. So who's the first carry? I would kind of guess to say that it's probably our returning ADC, mojojoe.
I don't like to toot my horn, but most of the teams I play around or play in tend to play around the bot lane. Whether it be my Varus, the Ashe, Zeri, Kai'Sa, any of these carry picks, I can flex into some mages, but we don't usually do it. So maybe this year, maybe Sinner, if you want. I'll
You're on Varus.
I'm on Varus.
You're on Varus.
I'm always on Varus.
That's what's gonna happen.
Hey, last semester we played around me. We got 3rd. So hopefully we can improve that as I improve. But at the end of the day, I hope Alex and Isaac and Jerry all, can do the same, and I think they can. So.
Yeah, I mean, they play around it, and I think something that's really great is how consistent you are in the team fights, and are able to help the team out through that. But rounding out this varsity roster is Z, other known as Lamprey, who is another senior.
Yes, he's a master. So he's in his master's degree. It's his 6th year, I believe, but very, very good player. He was masters at once, and he's technically the highest rank out of all of us for peak, but he hasn't been in Masters for a little bit. But hey, he's a very, very aggressive support, I'll tell you that. He reminds me of a lot of the LPL supports where, you know, he sometimes has those questionable plays, but hey, at the end of the day, so many team fights, you'll just see him have a miracle engage, that perfect, and just auto win. So
yeah, he is what I like to call a psychopath, which is my favorite kind of support, because you know that whenever there is a time when it's going to be very hard to come back, he's always looking for a way to win those games, and always trying to find an angle. Sometimes they're a little risky, but you know, sometimes you need to play with risk.
Yeah.
So this varsity roster is going to be playing in CCL once again. It should be good. We've gotten third in the past 2 seasons.
Unfortunately, third. Before we had won 3 straight titles, but now 2 straight third places. So.
Yeah. Who we lose to?
NDSU and DSU are the 2 sort of, I'd say, juggernauts of the league.
Yeah.
I think we can beat both of them, and we've certainly showed that we can play at their level, but we haven't been able to get that over that hump yet.
Yeah, we need to level up our game a little bit to cross that edge. Are you expecting us to kind of pull it through?
I think general idea around the team from both, especially the 3 seniors and the coach, is it's either championship or bust.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of people's last semesters and last years, and we want to be able to take a trophy home, especially from one of the few lands we can attend.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be concerned if that wasn't the expectation from you.
It's the expectation. Especially, I mean, I think we're either the second or the highest average ranked team, so it's something we should be always thriving for in that case. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've done it before, and we can do it again. I think it's realistic to do it again. But now we have, so that was our varsity team.
It's a varsity team, but now we have our JV team, which has been named Husker Scarlet. If you know, in the past, it was Scarlet was the varsity team, but we're going to change it now. So we're JV1 is Scarlet, and then JV2 and JV3 will have different names. So, but we start in the top lane. Tony, aka Longbard, a senior.
Yeah, he had a really good showing in these tryouts. Really good on his Aatrox. A lot of really good plays. Definitely want to. I can't wait to see more of him.
I think he was really impressive. He's technically a role swap jungle, so I think he did really well, especially because he was the only top laner in tryouts who really put up with Isaac. I think Isaac kind of dominated when he was in it, except for when Tony was playing against him. So.
Yeah, definitely held his own.
Yeah, but in the jungle we have Blake, aka Husser. He's also a senior. There's a lot of seniors on this team, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But he's new. All of these players all of this team is sort of newer to the competitive scene, and you can definitely see it in his. Sometimes he's a little bit less decisive, a little bit less vocal sometimes, but I think he had a lot of impressive moments. So.
Yeah, he had a lot of. I love the way that he kind of ran the jungle.
Yeah.
The way that he was navigating the map was really good, and I think once we kind of work out some communication stuff, he's going to be a super vital asset that's going to just really enable our mid lane and bot lane really well.
I think more because I was watching the tryouts, I think I was impressed with where he was on the map. When it's just like he needed a little bit better execution, a little bit better communication, and then I think if he had those 2 things, he would have dominated. So. But mid lane, another senior, Chet, aka Gold Card Enjoyer. You may guess it, he was a TF1 trick at one point.
Yes, he was, and he was actually on our JV team last year, which that team kind of had some struggles on it. Had some roster movement as well. However, he was a solid player on that team. Very crucial to all of their games. Anytime that we had a winning position, it was because of Chet.
Yes, as someone on varsity, wasn't always able to watch their games or scrims, but whenever I tuned in, I'd see, hey, Chet's doing well, and you know, he always does well. So.
Yeah, and Chet, I will never force you to play Zed into Ari again. I've learned my lesson. It's not going to happen.
All right. Yeah. AD carry, my protege, Preston, aka Kelpo. He's a sophomore, and I think he's pretty good. He's a bit of a Lucian one trick, and he can work on some other champs, I think, but I really like him. I think he has really good comms, and I think he's going to develop into a great prospect. So.
Oh yeah, I definitely I see a lot in his play, because the Lucian thing, that's a new addition.
Yeah.
Through pushing him throughout, we had like a summer boot camp, and kind of pushed him through that in that time, and he was really receptive to a lot. He has a lot of really good plays, and once he starts refining some stuff and starts playing some more games, I think right now he's just underranked.
Yeah, I think he's underranked. I think he's inconsistent is the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has games where he cooks, and then I think he has games where he kind of just doesn't feel very useful or kind of in. So
sometimes he cooks, sometimes he burns in the kitchen. You gotta do these
it happens.
things.
It happens. But hey, support Ben, aka I'm looking. He's also a senior, so 4 seniors on this team.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I think he's a role swapped AD carry. As you know, best supports are always AD carry role swaps. Aframu, Core JJ. So he's the next GOAT, I guess.
Yeah, and there was a lot of really good showings from Ben in this tryout. There's a specific play in mind that was just a very creative engage that he had, flashing in on Lulu and ulting himself to knock up 3 to get Preston a triple kill or a double kill, and just the fact that he was able to have that eye so quick is really impressive, considering that he's relatively new to the role.
Yeah.
So I think he's a great person to kind of round out this team, but it is a very old team.
Yes, it's four seniors and 1 sophomore. And despite having 4 seniors, they only really have a little bit of competitive experience, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But I will say, we didn't talk about it on this team yet, carry threats. I think Preston and Chet are the obvious 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, I think that they've really showcased that in their games as well. Chet being kind of forced into that position last semester in that mid lane, did a great job, and I think just Preston really wants to push into that and has really shown that he can. So I think that the team is going to be able to enable them very, very well.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah.
But
now
we got one more team.
We got one more team, and that rounding off is Huskers Black, the 3rd team that we have here at University of Nebraska. In the top lane, we have Thomas Arcustorm, a sophomore returning from last year.
Yes, he was on the JV team last year. He's a Mordekaiser Aatrox type of player. He, I would say, is just that consistent rock. Mm-hmm. It never feels like, he's 1v9ing a game like the Shy, behind the Shy, or something like that.
Well,
but
the last scrim he was.
He definitely showed out in one of the games during the tryouts at least. But I would say he's that consistent player that you always want top lane. So high praise for that.
Yeah, he was definitely very helpful. And whenever we, a similar situation to like Jerry, where like whenever we had a game without Thomas, it felt so much harder. He was definitely a rock that we needed on that team, and I think that this team is could be in a similar spot, though I think he'll be able to step up into that position, which brings us down to Kevin, our jungle, Kevin, a toasted bagel.
Yes.
Another senior.
Yes. I will say myself and our coach, Sinner, were very impressed by him during the tryouts, our week-long tryouts. He took a lot of stuff he was weak at on the first day, and by the last day of tryouts, he was a lot better at it, and we were just generally impressed by his micro in general. He's that sort of carry jungler that you always want to see pop off, so I think he has a lot of potential, and I think given, a few weeks where he learns a few macro things, I think he's going to be a very dangerous player.
Yeah, and I think that he also communicates very well.
Yeah.
Especially with the mid laner. Like they already have a really good connection, and I think that's something kind of hard to come by. So I'm very excited to see what he kind of brings in this kind of very aggressive kind of jungle that he kind of plays. Which brings us to the mid lane, Noah, Boofa's Bofunkel.
Yes.
Another senior.
He goes by Nuvja, I believe, is his alt name, but he is a mid laner. He's longtime friends with Kevin, so that's why they have such good synergy with each other. He has a lot of those odd picks for mid laners, so he's like Doinby, but a little bit less supportive. He plays more like Pantheon and stuff like that. I think overall he had a good showing in tryouts. Wasn't able to beat the Alex or Chet, the other two mid laners, but he especially melds well with Kevin, so their 2v2 is very strong. So
yeah, and another talker. He also communicates very well.
he talks a lot.
Yeah, he makes sure everyone's on the right page.
We would call him a yapper. I'll tell you that.
we have a couple of yappers throughout all
do.
of our teams. So
it's always good to have one at least.
It is. It's hard if you have a team without someone who's going to be willing to talk. Then you're just playing solo queue together.
Yep.
So you definitely want someone who's going to kind of hold everyone accountable. And I think Noah really, I mean, he don't take no crap from nobody.
Yeah.
So that is going to be something that's going to be very useful for that team. Which now brings us to the ADC, who had a very good showing. Long Egoist, who is a sophomore.
Yes, so Long Egoist is first semester. We've seen him, but I think he has very good micro, very good champ pool. I think he knows how to play weak side very well as well. And honestly, it was sort of like we were leaning towards Preston, but Long definitely could have been over him on the second team. I think they're very even, and hopefully in the future we'll show very good position battles between them. But I think he's gonna be the main carry at the end of the day. He has that Zeri, he has that Caitlyn, he has champs like that. So.
Yeah, I think the first time he put his champ pool, it was
Zeri? Just Zeri. He's a Zeri one trick. But honestly, if you're gonna one trick, it better be AD carry because you can flex around a little bit more. And Zeri is very fun. It's my most played champ this season. So
yeah, he definitely had a really good showing, and a lot of games were like riding on him.
Yep.
A lot of things were kind of do or die from Long. So excited to kind of see how that carries over into a competitive environment, which is something that I think is super interesting about this team is most of them are new to this environment. I think they played great together as a team.
They have solid macro. They don't always have the best execution of their plays, but that happens, especially when you're newer to the competitive scene. And especially because they're just a little bit of a younger team compared to the other ones, I think having that potential helps a lot because in that coaching environment where you're going to get a lot more help, you're going to be able to improve a lot faster. So.
Yeah, and speaking of potential, we have the support.
Yes.
Jacob Worst with a U. He's not worst. He is.
It's kind of ironic.
But he's a junior.
Yep.
And also new to the team.
Also new to the team. He's essentially a Leona player. It's that type of engaged, and Leona, Nautilus, Rel, kind of Braum, but he's that sort of iron rock type of support player who always just does good enough.
No, let's not call him iron, okay?
You know what I meant. He does consistent. Yeah. He pulls off the engages when he needs to, but I think he has a lot of potential. Needs some work on his enchanter play. Needs some work on his laning phase, but I really like him as a player.
Yeah, so. we're definitely gonna be putting in a lot of work. I think he probably has one of the highest ways to go. I think there's a lot that he still has to learn, but it seems like he's really willing. Yeah. And I'm excited to see what Huskers Black has in store with this team, which for all of these teams, we're going to be trying to stream these games, and we want some help. So this is a shout out to you guys out there. If you guys are wanting to cast or be on production, help with graphics, help with anything on the back end, we're going to have an announcement in the Discord, and we really appreciate it if you guys want to join us. It's a fun experience.
Yeah. As the game manager, I will be posting a caster form. I've already posted once before at least, but we'll be posting a caster form. If you want to sign up for casting, go through that. If you want to help with production, you can get in contact with myself, Liv, Z, anyone in that sort of XCOM production unit, and we'll gladly take any help we can get. Because we want to put out the best product we can, and right now we can do better, but we're doing pretty well. So
yeah, it's been really fun, and having all of these. I think there's a lot of people who are interested and who are new into this. But that also brings me into a question that I actually had on these rosters, if you don't mind me asking, which is, I heard the word senior a lot.
Yes, there's 9 seniors across the 15 players. There are players outside of the teams that were interested but didn't make it, so there's that. There's most of them are freshmen and sophomore, and we're going to be hoping to develop them throughout the semester, throughout the year, to just put them at the level they need to be on a competitive team. But that being said, not all the seniors are going to be graduating this year, so it's not the worst in the world. But at the end of the day, it's collegiate esports. You're going to have a lot more turnover than professional esports. So.
Yeah. I guess my question is this kind of the split that you would expect? As League of Legends game manager, do you want...
A little bit. It's sort of, I know especially League and NA has an older player base than, Valorant or Fortnite or whatever. But I was certainly hoping there would be a few more freshmen and sophomores, but we do have a good amount. I think there was about 12 or 13 freshmen plus sophomores who signed up to play. But at the end of the day, seniors got the spots, so that's that. But we're going to have 2-3 teams for the next few years at least. So
yeah, that's the plan, is to keep it coming, keep it going.
Keep it going.
Moving forward, Worlds is coming up.
Worlds is coming up, and the Worlds patch has been published. Not all the changes are final, so if something changes, don't blame me or Patrick or production or whoever.
Definitely blame me. It's my fault.
Blame him. It's always his fault. But anything you want to talk about for the Worlds patch? I have a few notes that I have. So
yeah, I think just something that kind of jumps out to me is like how nerf focused this is. This is a very things are primarily getting weaker rather than primarily getting stronger.
Yes, and it's a little bit of a side tangent, but Freak and LS and Froxen, I believe, did a podcast together for about an hour. They talked about meta, and they kind of agreed that the meta is okay because a lot of champions are playable right now. So I think nerfing what is SZ tier or whatever you want to call it, the best champions a little bit down, you're going to have a lot bigger of a champ pool or that can be played at Worlds than I think we usually see, especially in older seasons where the Worlds patch was the Juggernaut and then Darius Gangplank is banned every game and Callista and Ardent Sensor type of stuff.
Ardent Sensor, why you got to say that?
I think this Worlds patch, being in nerf focused, helps it sort of level the playing field a little bit more than buffing some of the champions up.
Yeah, and throughout all the Worlds, it's always gotten more and more diverse with the number of picks. Not just because there's more and more champions, but I mean, we keep seeing champions that like haven't seen the light of day all of a sudden creep in. In
the Nasus and Garen mid.
Yeah.
I better see one Showmaker. Come on.
You can want it all you want, but we'll see what this patch has to offer. What kind of nerfs are something that's.
I did just mention Nasus and his Nasus Emax build, where you go Nasus Emax into like a Zeri or a Smolder or a Corki, play a mid, and you sort of neutralize the lane and just outscale. That's been nerfed, but I think it's still counterpick. Just because it's only the Emax, it's like even E early is fine, but the Emax, just like doing it first, you're just going to have a lot less damage, a lot less wave clear. So I think it's a counter pick. You can't blind it like you saw in OCK playoffs or whatever, but yeah. I would say another Rumble. Rumble's been prevalent in more eastern regions, but it's taken a little bit of a hit. I do think it's still going to be one of the stronger top laners, simply because Rumble works well with all of the champions that are being currently played, like the AD carry mids, Jhin, Zyra, Brand, Sejuani, stuff like that. Smolder?
Yeah, Smolder kind of getting a nerf a little bit to the AP items. Not going to be able to build those anymore. So
you saw a lot of Smolder with the Andrew's 4th item just for that anti-tank sort of damage spread, and his AP scaling on his Q's getting removed. So I think that's pretty good for the game. I think trying to get champions to have one damage type in general usually makes drafts a little bit more interesting. Yep. Just because if you have a Zeri or if you have a Smolder or something along those lines that can do multiple forms of damage, it feels annoying because you can't itemize against it as effectively. So,
yeah. You also have a note in here about Poke Varus.
Poke Varus. So Poke Varus got buffed last patch, and because of that, I was looking at it and thought, well, Poke Varus is probably going to be picked a lot, and that's going to be the dominant build, but it's gotten slight hit. I don't think it's as big as the buff, but it's still being hit, especially on the Q&E. And instead of being like when they pick Ferris, it's like 90% poke and then 10% on hits or whatever. I think it's going to be closer to a 50-50 split now. So
awesome. Well, but that was some nerfs.
yes, there is. Unfortunately, I think there's only one meaningful buff on this patch, which is the Xin Zhao buff. Specifically, it's to his armor growth and his like Q damage and his damage to monsters and that type of stuff. I do think it's the only like major buff that will actually impact. I don't think he'll be like a first pick or even like bannable most of the time, but I do think when you have that Sejuani ban, when you have that Zyra ban or Brand ban, you're going to be looking at Xin Zhao as a potential pick. So
yeah. I mean, I always enjoy the patches when Xin Zhao is playing. I think because he makes it exciting in that early game.
He's a scrapper, and he's not the worst late game. He's not the greatest, but you like to see those early game champions sometimes because pro play can be a little stale if it's just late game champs and the Asol and the Zeri or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's always more fun whenever you have more exciting early games because it's more can happen if that's the case. If everything's just late game, you just know that whichever team I can farm just a little bit better and survive just a little bit more, they're just gonna win every time. Versus I want to see some craziness happening because a Xin Zhao is doing an insane dive,
running around the map, diving, counter invading, trying to steal dragons when he can or whatever. I think it's just more entertaining to be fair as well. Yeah, but the biggest change on this patch is none of that. It is the turret fortification stuff. So, unfortunately, lane swap has come back into the meta for the past few months. I don't really like it. It's sort of that idea that you sort of neutralize a losing lane by switching them into a different lane, and it sort of makes the first 5 minutes just like 4 people are top side and 4 people are bot side, and they're all on the same team, and nothing ever is happening. So, but they're changing it. They're making towers a little bit tankier after you take a plate, and then the first 5 minutes, the turret fortification buff, you're going to be doing about 40% less damage than you were last patch. So that's really going to hurt your gold income on that tower plates when you do switch early to the top lane. So I think it's not officially dead. I think there's going to be very rare cases where into like a Nasus or a Cho'Gath top lane where you can really abuse that matchup, that you might still do it, but I do think it's just has a hand sticking out of the grave, you know.
Yeah, and I like it when it has a hand. Whenever it's like it's barely there. Seeing it, like whenever it comes back for a little bit, it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and
it's like that's so clever. They're moving everywhere somehow. They're just moving all over. Then they're in this jungle, and now the support's over here, and it feels like it's a lot more. Feels creative, but whenever you see it 10 games ago, it's not fun.
No, it's not fun. I've never played it. I have played with it before. It's not very fun to play as or against or whatever. It's just,